flat fee, a minimum fee will be fixed for a service. So you can obtain the service by paying the minimum taken by or accessed by the enterprise. How much have been accessed? That is total cost, total operational cost. All these factors will be considered before costing a service. Alright. Preferential treatment. They will be given high preference over the other stakeholders. Next thing is to know the basic requirements in chargeback models. Hello students, welcome to the next session of Cloud Computing and Big Data Analytics. I am Dr. Soumyashree from Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram College. In the last session, I was explaining you about the charging models, usage metering and billing. What are the benefits of that and what are the different challenges that are going to be faced by the charging models, isn't it? Let's move on to the next thing in this concept. The thing we need to be knowing in this session is what are the different types of charging model that can be used in the cloud service. Okay, we have the cloud chargeback models. Okay, chargeback is nothing but the process of charging the service that was given to a stakeholder. So chargeback is a mechanism to fix the fee for the service provided to the stakeholder, isn't it? So for charging the stakeholders for the given service, we have different models that can be followed. The first thing in this is standard subscription based model, and other is the pay-per-use model, and third one is premium pricing model. Then we have the hybrid model, then allocation based model, flat fee based model, usage based model, product or service based model, activity based model and market based model. Alright. So we have these many models in the chargeback thing, and we have so many parameters that must be considered before giving a charging model or deciding what chargeback model is suitable for us, like cost model, utilization metering and monitoring you have to take care. Then for chargeback information, we need all these parameters like identifying the cost, allocating a cost to the service, then recovering the cost, and that means taking back the cost. In cost identification, you have to analyze how much must be done or how much cost must be given for a particular service. Service definition, what is the service, and analyzing how much service have been used will contribute to identifying the cost. Next is allocating the cost. We'll take the parameters from service cost and billable units. Supporting files if you have taken with the service, that all will also be considered for allocating the cost. In recovering the cost, you need SLAs, that is agreements, software license agreement, and the general rates that fixed for a particular service. And then cost centers, how the cost must be, which will be used to recover the cost, which gives back information to the chargeback model. Along with that, cost model. What is the cost model? Prescribed or taken by the stakeholder, and monitoring and metering the utilization of the service. All these factors will be considered before costing a service. Alright, we shall know about these models in detail. First one is the standard subscription based model. In standard subscription based model can be termed as the simplest type of model that can be used, where this model gives the total of operational cost will be divided by the IT users, the total number of applications hosted by the environment. If there are 36 copies of a service has been obtained, the total cost will be divided by the number of applications or number of copies of the service that has been taken by or accessed by the enterprise. How much have been accessed? That is total cost, total operational cost. If you have taken an infrastructure and it costs $100 and 30 or 40 copies of the infrastructure have been obtained using the virtualization, you can cost for $25 per copy of the service or per application. For single application, it costs around $25 because the total cost, operational cost was $100 and the number of applications obtained is 40. So, total operational cost will be divided by the total number of applications hosted by the environment, and a total of $25 will be incurred on each application. Okay, each application cost will be $25. Alright. What is the advantage of this is it is the most simplest and transparent one, because you know about how much have been used. It doesn't depend on how much time you have used, because subscription will be based on maybe number of days. Subscription time or time duration for service usage will be fixed while subscribing to that service. Say 30 days or 40 days or 60 days, like this. So, there is no time constraint to be considered while getting into the cost calculation. Only thing you can do is get the total operational cost, which is simpler to calculate, and there will be no much complexity in calculation of the cost. You can simply calculate the cost using this parameters and calculate the total cost. So, that is the advantage. When it comes to disadvantage or the problem of the subscription based model is it promotes subsidy and unequal allocation of resources. Even though they have taken 40 instances of the applications of an application or infrastructure, everyone may not have used it equally. As I said, some may have used only for 10 hours, some may have used for 25 hours or 25 days, some may have used only for 10 days. In such a case, each application has to bear fair amount of or equal amount of subscription fees, but it will be subsidy on some of the most used applications, and there will be an overload on the less used applications or less used user. Okay. So, there is an unequal allocation of the cost on different users. That is one of the flaw or disadvantage of the standard subscription based model. Apart from that, we have pay per use model, pay as you use. Okay. This model targets for environments with line of business of various sizes. You can have middle level business, high level business or startup business. Based on that, based on varying environments of the business, you can charge the service. Like in this, emphasizes on charging based on applications consumption of resources, how much it has been used, how much time it has used this service, how much hours has been used by the environment or by the enterprise for this particular service. pay only for that hours. If I have used only for 5 hours, pay for only 5 hours. No need of the subscription. You are not subscribing. You are instantly taking the service, paying for the service like a prepaid service. So, you will pay for only 5 hours and get the service. Once the 5 hours is over, the service will be taken back. That is the thing which happens in pay-per-use model. Okay. This model gets complicated in its approach because due to the framework around resource usage and its monitoring, you have to regularly monitor how much hours they have used, whether there is a breakage in service because of the failures or any disaster or any trouble. You have to continuously monitor the service given to the stakeholder. Along with that, this model ensures that advantage is fair and equitable cost. You pay only how much you have used, not more than that. And equitable cost recovery. It may take longer to arrive at agreeable metrics, whether based on time sequence, whether based on service. Suppose I have taken 10 hours. I have agreed for 10 hours of usage. In the 10 hours, 2 hours have been given for the disaster management. There was a problem, there was a network failure, or there was a memory failure in the cloud, and for 2 hours, the service was not available. If somebody is not monitoring this breakage, the user will be costed for all the 10 hours. Now, there will be a conflict between these things because they both have agreed for 10 hours of usage, but the user have used only for 8 hours. Now, there will be a conflict between how much time they have been using the service. Okay, and what cost model they have to be taken, whether there must be a subsidy for the service used because the stakeholder requires or stakeholder wants that there must be a cutoff in the payment cost because the service was not available for 2 hours and he cannot pay for the service he haven't get. That means he both has to monitor, the stakeholder as well as the service provider has to monitor the continuity of the service for all the subscribed hours. Okay, that is what the disadvantage of the pay-per-use model, but the advantages is you need not to have too much complexity in costing because you are costed only for how much hours you are using that service. Alright. Next is the premium pricing model. The premium pricing model focus on the class of service and guaranteed availability of resources for business applications. Premium is extra facilitated model. There will be premium users of the service, some business decision making, softwares will be there, service will be there, which are at most important to an enterprise. So, they can go for premium pricing, that is prime importance will be given for that customer or the client. So, he will get prime importance which is called as premium. They will be having premium pricing model, like if you go to a temple or if you go to some other thing, VIP will be given more importance, isn't it? They will be occupying the front seats in the auditorium or in any place. If you go to a temple, you will be having premium queue where you can get to the God in less time, isn't it? Like this, premium pricing model is concentrating on prime important clients or stakeholders which need that particular service and expect the height of availability. There must be high availability of the data for this kind of customers or stakeholders which take the facility of premium pricing model. Okay. The LOBs, that is the business lines, line of business will incur a premium for preferential treatment. They will be given preferential treatment. They will be given high preference over the other stakeholders. The enterprise will be given more importance or preferential treatment of application request. Whenever there is a failure of the service, first priority will be when the service resumes, the first priority will be given to the customers or the stakeholders who have obtained the premium pricing model than other paper or the subscription fee users. So, they will take the maximum priority out of other stakeholders. The thing we need to know in this premium pricing model is this model, it will never exist alone. This is not an independent model, but coexist with other baseline chargeback models, maybe subscription, pay-per-use. For that, the priority will be more, which is called as the premium pricing model. Everything else is same as either the subscription model or the pay-per-use model, but the priority will be high in case of enterprise who has obtained the premium pricing model. Okay. Along with that, there will be a standard subscription based model or pay-per-use model. You can use any kind of model, but you will be charged more because priority will be more for you. So, you will be charged more when compared to the normal customers or stakeholders. Alright. Apart from this, you have the hybrid model, which combines the advantage of the previous models. The hybrid model gets the best of the previous models and offers the combined advantage of two or more models. You can either you can have the subscription based model along with premium or pay-per-use model with premium. Okay. This provides flexibility to IT organizations and line of business, but also present the line of business with many choices to pick from. In this hybrid model, you will have choice what kind of service you want. You can pick from each of the provisioning or each of the group and make a separate hybrid model, maybe based on the subscription or pay-per-use model, and you can combine even the premium model. Okay. In this hybrid model, there is no need of an agreeable model as each business have an array of choice to pick from. So, this is the best model that can be obtained by any of the stakeholder or the customer, maybe premium stakeholder or the normal stakeholder. So, you can combine the advantage of other models to form a hybrid model so that you can have array of choices or set of choices to be chosen from the cloud services. Alright, these are the main important models. Along with that, we have some minor models like allocation based model based on how services have been allocated to the customer, like premium, normal or less subsidy based allocation. So, based on that, you can be charged, chargeback can be done, flat fee, a minimum fee will be fixed for a service. So, you can obtain the service by paying the minimum fees for a service. Usage based model, how much you may have used, based on that, like a postpaid SIM, how much you use, how much hours you use, you have to pay for that, which is called as the usage based model. Then we have product or service based model. Product or service will be categorized based on the priority, which is most widely used product, which is less likely used service. If it is high demanding service, it will be charged more. If it is low demanding, there will be a subsidy or there will be a reduce in the cost of the service. So, product or service based model. Then activity based model, how much activity will be done on a particular service based on that charges may be done. Then market based is nothing but based on the demand. If you have demand on this, so you pay more. If you don't have demand for this service, you can pay less and get the service. And how much it has been used. If it is more demanding and is more demanding even in the market, like market based, so then you have to pay more. You have to get the premium. You have to subscribe this much. Minimum cost will be there. That and this. All these things will be done based on the demand of the service. Market-based service model. Market-based model will be executed based on the demand of the service in the IT market. These are the some of the chargeback models that can be used to make or to charge for a obtained service. Alright. The next thing is to govern or to control to the IT infrastructure. What are the things we need to consider while the IT infrastructure governance is? It is a shared infrastructure. So, governance in a shared infrastructure becomes a paramount as resources shared by the business. The resources will be shared by different business units, require some policies and standards and control mechanisms. You have to control the cost of the IT infrastructure in the enterprise or in the organization. That define boundaries. You have to define a boundary and upload the business unit. So, how much service you need, and you have to follow the policies, standards, thresholds. All these things must be taken care while governing an IT infrastructure in a particular enterprise. Along with that, there can be many features that are important in proving a flexible, virtualized runtime environment. You are creating a virtualized runtime environment in the stakeholder for the enterprise application. Most of the enterprise application may be virtualized. Now we have to control the management or control the storing of the data, accessing of the data, or accessing a service or deprovisioning a service. All these things must be controlled by the IT infrastructure governance. Along with that, the governance in such complicated or complex environment will include the ownership. What is the ownership? And accountability. You must be accountable to the service you have obtained. The person, if you have obtained a service, you will be responsible to know how much hours the person have used the service, and the access to operational environment. That is, governance is nothing but controlling the IT infrastructure in an enterprise. How to control the IT infrastructure. There must be a user who may use a service unnecessarily for 30 hours, which gives you a load on the cost of operational cost on the IT infrastructure. You will be fixing a certain expense on the IT, but it may exceed because of some of the irresponsible users of the service. Now, in such a case, you have to govern the varying environment or versatile environment that have been established in the enterprise. All these things comes under the concept of the IT infrastructure governance. Governance is nothing but controlling the IT infrastructure in an enterprise. Next thing is to know the basic requirements in chargeback models. What you need to consider while charging a service. For fixing a cost or charging a service, the first thing you need to consider is the fairness. What is fairness is? one group should not be subsidizing IT usage at the expense of another. There must be fair distribution of cost among the services. If some service is having more demand and some service is having less demand, in such a case, the cost or chargeback model should take care that fair enough cost is distributed among different services. So, one less used service must not be charged more on the usage of the more demanding service, or less capable service taking most of the cost when compared to the more capable service. So, there must be a fair distribution of cost based on quality of the service and the availability of the service to the stakeholder. Okay, that is one requirement. Another is controlling. What does this parameter says is the business units should have a degree of control. They must control. What they must control is the IT spending decisions. So, there will be a person who is responsible, who will be responsible for deciding how much must be spent on the IT, that is infrastructure or information technology infrastructure, like maybe hardware, software or any other service. So, there must be some sort of control by the management which controls the expenditure of the IT over a period of time. So, you have to control the cost of the IT in an enterprise. Next requirement of chargeback model is repeatability. So, what does the repeatability suggest is charges should be repeatable and predictable. If I know, if I have used a service previous time, I have used same service before 2 months, the charges should be repeatable. I should not change the charges repeatedly. Like this month, November or December, I am charging $1 or $1.5 for a service per hour. I should not change the cost next month. I should not make it $2 like that. So, it must be repeatable and predictable. You must know how much may be cost, so that it will help the enterprise to predict or to have a budget how much must be fixed for IT expenditure. So, the chargeback model should take care that charges will be repeatable as well as predictable. They will be both. The last requirement of the chargeback model is they must be simple. There must be maximum transparency in the cost that will be incurred. The chargeback algorithm needs to be easy to understand. If there is an administrator who is handling all these chargeback models, if he is replaced by someone else, he must be able to understand the operation of the algorithm. That means it has to be easy to be understood by someone else and simple. It must be simple as possible and inexpensive. It must not cost too much over the execution of the algorithm. Okay. To implement, it must be easy and less complex. Okay. You have to take care of all these things while selecting a chargeback model. If you have the proper chargeback model in the cloud service, you can have a better service and the stakeholder will be more contented with your service. All these things will be considered with the cloud computing. Alright. So, this is all about the concepts of the cloud computing, which will be considered while making any cloud based decisions, whether you are a stakeholder or customer or cloud service provider. You have to consider all these basic things before committing to anything like maybe a service provider or service taker or you are a stakeholder. You have to consider all these things. All right. Thank you.